Talk to me about how you figure out how much to charge. That's also a hard thing, especially because you're, correct me if I'm wrong, you're selling your time to a certain extent. How did you come up with um, that pricing model?
It's the pricing model exercise that I went through and that I'm still going through is always a challenging one. For me, what I started to do at first was to really look at comps, right? What were other admissions companies charging either for their end-to-end services, which I offer. I offer what's called a start to finish package, where you can really think about this being like the white glove service package that I really help you from forming your list to getting all of your essays out for the schools that are on your list by the admissions application deadline.
Right.
So I was looking at people who are different companies who are offering similar packages. And I actually did like a pricing competitive like benchmarking, right?
Okay.
I then also looked at the a la carte services and how much people were charging per hour, right? And did the same. And what I found is that people are charging a ton of money for these services,
Yes,
right?
they are.
So then that's where the self-doubt kicks in. And I have to be honest, when I did that benchmarking, I had in my mind my price point of where I wanted to start out, selling my services. And when I looked at the benchmarking, I said, there's no way I can charge that much. I don't even have a customer who's paying me yet. I'm doing this on the side as a favor for people. And that's when that imposter syndrome started to kick in, right? And I remember when I first started talking to customers in the discovery calls that I have, and when I start pitching the start to finish package at $19.95 per package, I remember not being able to even like say that confidently at first without, choking up or thinking,
Yeah.
if that's too much, I can cut it in half, right?
Right.
So I had to practice. I had to like look in the mirror, practice giving my pitch in the discovery call, saying the price, and then being silent.
Yeah.
And what you find is that if you just force yourself to be silent and let the customer absorb it and ask whatever follow-up questions they have, then you actually find that, they might be okay with that price, or maybe
Right.
they even thought that was cheaper than what they expected, right? And you don't talk yourself out of a deal. So
Yeah.
that was a learned lesson. And I have to be honest, I'm still learning that. It can be tough. It can be tough.
Yeah. Don't say no for the customer. Like that, there's like there's so many gems in that, right? Like I love the fact that you practice in the mirror. I love the idea of you say the price, you drop the mic and you wait.
Exactly.
that is so it's a good kind of for listeners at like a tactical level, like some strategies to use, because that self-doubt, that imposter syndrome, it is real. It is so real, whether you experience it in your day-to-day work, in your career, or with your business, but especially when you don't have that safety net and you're an entrepreneur. I can only imagine you're like, someone's going to pay me this much.
Right. Yeah.
What? So I want to dive in a little bit about that, and if you don't mind,
sure.
What kind of mental inner conversations did you have with yourself, especially when you were discovering what people were charging? Yeah. You couldn't find the confidence to charge that much. Like, did you go back to, hey, this is my value, this is what I'm trying to do, this is what I'm trying to serve? Or was it an experimentation? Did you just say, yeah, I'll throw out a price and we'll see if people bite and we'll adjust from there? What was the self-talk?
It's a little bit of both, right? So I think whenever imposter syndrome kicks in, whether it's through like figuring out how much you charge, right? And your value that you're bringing to the end customer, or even just in your day-to-day, right? Yeah. Whenever imposter syndrome kicks in, one of the things that and one of the tools that I use to kind of combat that is to actually write down like my receipts, right? Like,
Yeah.
these are the reasons why I am qualified and capable to charge this amount, or to be in this room, or to, interface with this senior leader, right? And just kind of have to like physically write it down to like get it in your brain and remind yourself, like,
Yeah.
I deserve to do this and I deserve to be here. And this is how much, I am worth, right? I'm worth more than this, but you're lucky to even get a portion of my services for this amount, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the more that you can ingrain that in your mind, I think the more you can start to combat some of those saboteurs, is what they call them, right? That get in your head and have you think that you're not worthy or you're less than. So it was a bit of that, but I do have to be honest, it was also a little of like trial and error, right? So in my mind, I always thought, I can always make adjustments to pricing models, right? Or add new products or services to also try and extract more value from the customers, like down the chain. So an example of that is the online course that I created. So, I thought, there might be an opportunity here if people want to come in at the lower end of my pricing funnel. So maybe they just want to test me out and pay, an hourly rate for my services, but they find value in that. Then they may want to buy my online course, which is 5 steps to successfully completing the MBA application process. And that's a way for me to further monetize them through additional products and services, right? And I did that about 1.5 years after launching. So that wasn't on day one. So I think my lesson is it's a bit of trial and error. And it's also, you can change your price, you can add additional services. Like, there's so much you can do. It's really important to just get feedback from the customer.
Right. No, that's great. Were there excuse me, were there things that you tried out that you discovered, I don't think this is working?
Well, I'll tell you, my original hourly rate was a lot lower than my current rate, which varies. It can be around $175 to $200 an hour, depending on the actual a la carte service. But when I first went out, I was like, oh, $75 an hour. Like, that's, somebody will pay me that, right?
Yeah.
And I got feedback from some really close friends who were just like, Brittany, you're lowballing yourself. Like, how much is your time worth? Like, you're lowballing yourself. And I needed to hear that. And some may even say that at $175 to $200 an hour, that I'm still lowballing myself, because there are other companies who are charging upwards of $400 to $500 an hour for similar services. And so you need to also have either business advisors or friends that you trust or people that you can confide in on a business level to also just be like, what are you doing? Like,
yeah.
So I think that was a really, a huge learning for me.
Thanks for watching. If you found this video to be helpful, please leave a comment, like, subscribe, and share with a friend. If you are an entrepreneur and want to share your story and be helpful to others, just shoot us an email at behelpfulpodcast@gmail.com.